Defining identity. A tense debate on gender, language, and the law. A tense exchange unfolded in the studio during a recent interview between broadcaster Julia and returning guest Shiv, a journalist and radio presenter known for their work on Virgin Radio's Friday night show. The discussion opened with Julia welcoming Shiv back and referencing a previous appearance that had gone viral. She recalled how Shiv, who identifies as non-binary and prefers they-them pronouns, had taken issue with being referred to as she and her during that segment. Julia then asked whether the recent Supreme Court ruling on gender identity had altered Shiv's perspective. Shiv responded with a measured but passionate statement. Thanking Julia for the invitation, Shiv explained they had prepared a few remarks to reflect the gravity of the topic. They described the Supreme Court ruling as shameful and argued that women, including trans women, cannot be neatly categorized or defined solely by biology. According to Shiv, trans people are not a threat, and framing them as such only distracts from more urgent societal issues. Shiv highlighted the rising presence of far-right ideologies in the UK, increases in violence against women and girls, and the ongoing marginalization of LGBTQ+ individuals, particularly trans women.
In our society already, here in the UK, defining women by their sort of biological functions or their appearance has never helped any woman ever. Isn't that what the suffragettes were sort of fighting against in the first place? The ruling and this discussion entirety kind of is resulting in a distraction from the sort of disturbing reality that we're living through, which is, the facts are, the UK has an emboldened far-right population, our government is fueling a genocide, violence against women and girls has shot through the roof, and spoiler alert, it's not because of trans women. The LGBT community is most likely to experience abuse, addiction, homelessness than the straight community, and within that, those who suffer the most are women, they are trans women. These are women who make me personally feel safe. They're the ones that I want to dance with at 2 a.m. in the morning and watch football with on a Sunday afternoon. The law can define a woman however it wants. You can call whoever you want, whatever pronouns you want, but what are you really going to do? Are you going to, if I were to call this out for the BS that it is, and if I were to swear on air, I would be in more trouble personally than any bigoted politician or presenter that has ever played a part to further marginalise this already vulnerable community.
Right.
Despite the years and even decades that some broadcasters have dedicated to vile and hateful dog whistles about communities that bring so much joy and happiness and creativity to the world and this country, I just think that the people who are celebrating this with their bottles of champagne are going to look back, or hopefully we are going to look back at them and think that it's actually quite dark and quite disturbing that what they are celebrating is a separation of vulnerable people from society who are not going to be able to access the services that they need to access.
Trans women are women, they said firmly. They've always existed and always will. They went on to express deep concern over potential implications of the ruling, questioning whether the future would require people to carry identification to prove their gender identity.
People, cis or trans, carry ID with them so that they have to prove who they are because...
Drawing a historical parallel, Shiv warned that such practices would echo the dark authoritarian policies of 1930s Germany. The conversation grew more heated when Julia asked whether Shiv considered her part of the group of broadcasters accused of hateful or dog whistle rhetoric. Shiv responded that it was a self-ID situation, suggesting that individuals should reflect on their own actions and language. Julia pushed back, arguing that language must have consistent meaning. If I call a navy blue marker orange, we're not really communicating, she said. She maintained that the Supreme Court had clarified that even with a gender recognition certificate, someone born male is not legally a woman, a definition she insisted was necessary for coherent public discourse.
Women are beyond description and categorization. Well, no, I mean, that's like saying, well, a table or a dog is beyond description and characterization. We have words, and words are only useful as an ability to communicate between human beings because we all agree what those words mean. So if I hold up this navy blue mug and say that's orange, and use them, well, we have to be using words that have the same meaning. It's navy blue. So when I say it's navy blue, then you have to understand that as the same thing as I understand that. Otherwise, it's a meaningless conversation. So when we have a conversation about what is a woman, we need to all know what we mean by that. Now, it's your view and the view of many activists, I'm not saying you are, and many activists, that women has a number of different categories. People who were born women and are women, and men who believe that they are women or have a piece of paper saying they are women. The Supreme Court was very, very clear.
Yeah.
They're saying not only is the law now, they're saying it has always been the case that because you have a piece of paper, even a piece of paper, a gender recognition certificate, saying that you are legally a woman if you're born a man, you are not in fact a woman. Do you not accept that, or do you accept that ruling?
Shiv replied that, regardless of legal definitions, their community recognizes trans women as women, full stop. They rejected the idea that their views undermined language and instead emphasized the humanity of trans individuals. The conversation reached an emotional peak when Shiv recalled a previous on-air exchange in which Julia allegedly questioned them about their genitals. Julia insisted the comment had been made in a specific context, quoting herself, "You don't have dangly bits, do you?" At that point, Shiv expressed feeling physically and emotionally distressed. "I feel unsafe," they said, citing anxiety and the onset of a possible panic attack. Julia responded with surprise, stating she had invited Shiv on for a respectful conversation.
You did ask me what my genitals look like once live on TV.
I think that was in the context of a conversation and you raised that issue yourself.
I remember the quote. You don't have dangly bits, do you? So do you want to discuss dangly bits or not? Because
they are
frankly,
relevant, aren't
I am
they?
now feeling in a position where I'm in a room with you and I feel unsafe. Yeah.
You feel unsafe?
I feel unsafe. I feel my heart racing. My hands are starting to sweat. Do you want to touch my hand? Just clammy now. Okay. And I actually think I'm about to have a panic attack from sitting in a room with you. So I'd like to leave now. Yeah.
So you're feeling...
Yeah,
you were asked to come on the show to have a conversation.
And I've had a conversation.
We had a very nice...
We've had a conversation.
Well, you read out a statement, and now I'd like to ask you some questions.
You read out your statement.
I did
at the beginning.
Out a statement. No, that's me introducing the topic for people who are just tuning in and
you
explaining
added your
what happened.
ad-libs. You got to say what you thought about it. I've said my piece, and now I'd really like to go.
I thought we were you actually plugged into a mic there. I thought we were going to have a conversation.
At that point, Shiv stood and walked away from the studio while Julia watched in amazement.